Okay everyone, it is time for a news video. It is the Japanese side news day for Wotv, and I'm sure a lot of people are very interested in what is coming next. You know, we just had Astoria and Violet, and the Persona 5 event is going on, and actually this is a pretty, slum week in terms of news, as it turns out. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I actually do want to talk a little bit about the global side, specifically the fact that Global today got its Joom banner, and we finally saw the Joom details about the way it's done on Global. And there were some interesting things I want to just bring up. First of all, really quickly, if you there are some key differences between the Japanese side and the global side, which isn't really anything unexpected at this point, but there is some things that I am interested in, but not 100% convinced whether or not it is the way it kind of appears to be. First of all, the Mog Shop. On the JP side, it doesn't last that long. It only lasts, a couple of weeks kind of thing, maybe about 3 weeks-ish, and then it's gone. Maybe a little bit longer than that, but really the JP side banners as well as the Mog Shops are gone. On the global side, it seems like the Joom banner is sticking around for 51 days. Or, well, not the banner, but the Mog Shop, in case I didn't say that. Yeah, the Mog Shop is sticking around 51 days. And there's a couple things that I want to say. First of all, for people who think that these coins are going to be transferable between Joom and Setia and Renan and so on, I would say no. First of all, the 51-day timer is not long enough for all 5 of the characters to come out. Secondly, I just don't expect them to do that because it doesn't make any sense in terms of greed. But the other, or business, I should say, allegedly greed. It's actually business. But the other thing I noted very quickly was that the coins say Type A, and I would be I would imagine that Type B is probably Setia. So there isn't really a ton of reason to burn your coins unless you're trying to build Joom as fast as you possibly can. But I just want to send a warning out there, first of all, to all the global players to say that it might be worth holding on to the coins just in case they are on the generous side, but you should not necessarily expect them to be on the generous side. I definitely am not. All right, next up, I want to talk about just the general banners. On the JP side, basically, we need to get 2,000 tokens, which is, free lapis-wise, essentially 40,000 lapis, to be able to hard pity a character. Over here on the global side, it's not done the same way. It's actually on the banner, and you have to do, the banner pity goes up by 5% every time until it's maxed out, and then you get Joom off of that pity. And something that's really important, I think, to mention is that the pity, I think, on the global side is generally better if you hard pity. Why? On the JP side, there is no, it doesn't work the same way. Essentially, we have to get that 2,000 tokens. But once you get there, if you get to the 2,000 tokens, well, you just exchange it, and then you get nothing after that. That's a major problem on the JP side's hard pity. Like, if you wanted to buy and this is another thing I'll talk about in a second, but if you wanted to buy the shards in the shop for that character that you really wanted, it is worse because on the JP side, you just spent all those coins doing that, and then you don't get any shards to start building the character. On the global side, also something that's worth noting, the JP side, we get 100 of these max, and they don't refresh. And there are no purchase bonuses. Like on global, I noticed that you get 100 shards if you buy 5,000 paid lapis. 5,000 paid lapis is incredibly expensive, but that's pretty nice. That's a pretty big head start on Joom to just get 100 shards off of that before you even gone into, doing her permanent hard quest or starting to work on the bingo boards. Like, honestly, it's such a it's a huge difference. So for people on the global side who think that the banner is shit or anything, it's not. It's actually better than it is on JP, because even if it is kind of a slow, arduous thing, and it's a little bit, I'm not entirely sure about this, but I'm pretty sure the paid Lapis banners don't count towards that hard pity. Boy, is that 40,000. I mean, at least if you have to hard pity it, it is, you know, theoretically at least, it doesn't feel as bad as it does on the JP side. Because, for instance, if I had to hard pity Astoria, I don't get any of those shards. All of those coins are gone and spent directly on just getting him. So I think that's just, I just wanted to shout out the fact that I think that's better than the Japanese side. Even if there probably is something in there that's worse on the global side, in general, I'd say that your Warrior of the Crystal banners are, at least from what I've seen so far, better. Next thing, before we move on to the Japanese news, I do want to point out for all globalers that you don't need you don't need to rush with these farms, okay? The June farm is still available on the Japanese side 5 months later, and there still is no date on these at all. There was a date that appeared for a little bit. Excuse me. My voice is dying. But it's been refreshed. It's just a programming thing. But, you know, I noticed on the global shop watching some other streamers that you can pay to get a fully built weapon. And I'll tell you right now, don't do it. Don't do it. It's a really bad deal. These farms are permanent. There's no rush to doing it. And even if you did get June right away, trust me, just slow build it. You're totally fine. And that's really all that is to be said there. So let's back out and let's talk about the JP side news, which of course is always interesting. So first off, new story, chapter 7, part 1. Just more free Lapis. There isn't, I don't know, we'll see what happens in the story, whether it's interesting or not, but just kind of a update as to when that's coming. Next up, brand new vision card number 1. So say hello to the water card. Same last month, Barris ended up getting a vision card announced. That was not directly for him. It didn't have an Esper attached to him, but arguably Barris already had an Esper with the Ice Dragon, for example, or maybe Shiva. So I guess they didn't feel the need to make an Esper. So here we are. And this is the new water vision card to go with Astoria. And as always, these vision cards that come out directly after Warrior Crystals are designed to usually strengthen something that they have weakened. But water vision cards are not in a bad place at all. As a matter of fact, water vision cards, as I have become more and more invested over the last week, I found out that they're actually really good already. So what can this card possibly have? Well, we're looking at attack up and AP generation up for a water unit on the individual unit bonus. And as for party, main thing is aim up, and secondary is water ability attack up. However, the level max ability for the party is water resistance. Now, thoughts on this vision card really quickly as to where JP currently is. Boy, does it kind of feel extraneous. I mean, really, it feels pretty extraneous at this point. I'm not saying that it's bad. No, not at all. I would not say that it's bad yet, because we haven't seen the stats on it. But first of all, water as an element's already pretty stacked for amazing vision cards. It has one that gives, you know, thunder resistance. It has one that gives fire resistance. And now this one gives water resistance too. Water is quickly becoming the anti-element element, better than almost light or dark is at this point, which is kind of funny. But it's essentially an other. It's an Astoria card that makes Astoria strong against other Astorias, or Celeste strong against other Celeste. It's essentially feels really overkill. I'm honestly not too impressed with this vision card just off of looking at it because, first of all, is its water attack better than we currently have? Maybe. I mean, individual bestowed effective attack and AP up is, really nice. I mean, not like Astoria needs it, but it's nice to have. The real question for me is aim, with evasion always being the thing that is really deciding the value of vision cards and units right now on the JP side. It depends on whether this is. If it's just 25 aim or, something lower than that, then I think this vision card will barely be a blip on my radar. If it's 35 or higher, well, then it's going to be kind of interesting. I don't think it's going to be too ridiculous because there's no value in completely destroying the light evasion yet, but maybe making it a little bit closer in terms of, how good light evasion is. Maybe this is going to um, close the gap a little bit. The other thing to note, though, is that Astoria already has a sure hit ability and an AoE sure hit ability, and you can run like Cloud or other units for sure hit behind like a really well built Celeste or not Celeste, but Engelbert or Joom, for example. So yeah, I'm not entirely convinced on this vision card is necessary, but it could just be a really big aim stat stick, and that would be enough for most serious Astoria players to actually get this card. So we'll see. We'll see what, but it really depends on the stats at this point. All right, next up, Garvel and Elshira is getting their EXs this week. I've said this on stream before, and I'll say this again. I have high expectations for Garvel. Garvel is one of the few characters over the last year that is still run at level 99 because he's just that good. And I am one of those people who still runs Garvel. I run him in my main farm team. He is surprisingly consistent and has been that way for an entire year. Now that he's getting his EX, and I said this on stream, he could get 1 point of magic and I would be generally happy. He already excels. I'm just really curious whether he's going to get an accuracy buff or a new attack that sure hit. He is already a really great character. So I'm expecting, just the world from him at this point. Like anything just feels like a bonus, whether they make him more survivable or just more damage dealing or a better accuracy. I'm happy with almost any way they could go. They could give him a healing ability. I won't complain about it. I promise. All right. As for Elshira, it really depends. She is a character who is run primarily for her sub job a lot of the time. So I'm curious about what they could give to really make her shine. I'm just going to put this in the we'll see category. MRs sometimes have been traditionally a little bit better in terms of their EXs than the UR variety. So we'll see. But honestly, I don't know if I hold the highest hope for her, but she would be a good unit regardless, I think, for the selection quest. So she'll be on my radar. And we have the Persona 5 raid coming this week. Interestingly, a couple things to note. Light and dark for normal and rare, focusing on slash, strike, and magic. So basically the Persona 5 characters. Looks like the primary raid will be focused on Violet. I'm not really surprised about that. The rare raid will be focused on Joker and Queen, but it has a really weird mix as it's a dark one, or sorry, I'm reading the weaknesses backwards because that's the way it is. The normal raid is a light elemental one, weak to dark, and the secondary one is a light weak to light. My goodness. It's a little complicated. But the bonus units are kind of interesting because we got all of the big bonuses being the Persona characters. But, well, Astoria is not in there. He's actually in the medium tier. And as for vision cards, it's basically the only one, the Persona 5 collaboration card, that gives a large bonus. So it's built around the Persona characters, but the weaknesses are a little weird because it doesn't quite match up with what the characters can do. But if it's like all the other raids, then if you have a really good light elemental team or a really good dark elemental team, this should be an incredibly easy raid. As for what we get from it, we actually get a couple of things. And I do want to find where is the picture. Ah, there it is. The item that we will be getting is an accessory, the Jack Frost doll. Don't know what it does yet. Don't really care. I think it's just going to be something I'm going to make anyway because first of all, it's Jack Frost. He's like the Persona mascot in a lot of ways, and also like the Shin Megami Tensei series. But anyway, I'm excited just to get this because it's a cool little collectible. We'll see what its effect are, whether it synergizes more with Joker, Violet, or Queen. However, the other vision card that you will get from doing the raid is now to confirm to be a Thunder vision card for Queen. As a matter of fact, max HP elemental up for the party, as well as resistance, and in here for level max we have strike attack up, so it's actually a strike vision card, but it's only for getting it up to level max. It's very much a queen base card, and then in here we also have just thunder ability attack up, so it's essentially the queen vision card. And given that queen was a free character, this is good for people who were building her and were a little bit more free to play. You can get a free to play vision card essentially and max it, although I'm sure the shards will be difficult to get because they will be gotten from a quest as per normal, and we'll check out the difficulty once it is there. But I mean, pretty much what I was kind of expecting: an Astoria vision card, a vision card with the raid, as well as a new piece of equipment. The one thing that is missing, though, off of this new vision card is the data mined Esper. We had heard rumors because of Wotv Calc and Bismarck. This is not a shot against you at all. It's just what was in the data, everyone. Basically, whatever the Esper that was data mined, maybe it was early on in development, they did it and they couldn't quite meet the deadline, so they scrapped it kind of thing. But there is no Esper attached with this at all. A little disappointing because it would have been cool to have a collaboration Espers. Those have been feeling like they've been missing lately, as are just Espers a little bit in general ever since Chaos Odin. February is a new month though, right? So yeah, that's the JP news such as it is, and my thoughts on the global. So let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time.